Today I read the Kingdom Era 1 Samuel to 2 Chronicles. And by nature man desires something he cannot have. Total freedom. There are certain freedoms we can have, but they have correspondingly bondages, and there are certain bondages we can't have that afford us corresponding freedoms. For example, you can be fined from the toothbrush and in bondage to cavities, or you can make yourself a slave to the toothbrush and be free from cavities. You cannot be free from the toothbrush and free from cavities. That kind of freedom and freedom, total freedom, does not exist. Throughout life we are constantly making choices, and for those choices we pay certain inescapable consequences. Freedom comes with a price. The king of Israel wanted total freedom. They wanted the freedom to ignore the directives God had given them on how to rule and wage war, but at the same time they wanted the freedom to have economic and military prosperity. This was not possible. As a result, the Kingdom Era was a very turbulent time with many ups and downs. When a righteous king ruled, the nation would prosper. When an unrighteous king gained the throne, the nation would falter. The barnacles of unrighteousness began to affix themselves to the Israel ship of state, and before the books of history were completed, the nation had collapsed and suffered at the hands of warning neighbours. Now let's review. Repetition is a key to mental ownership. Fill in the blanks below for the story of the Old Testament. The era, the figure and the location. The storyline summary is Adam is created by God, but he, fill in the blank, and fill in the blank, God's original, fill in the blank for man. Secondly, we do the era, the figure and the location. For Abraham is blank by God to father a blank to blank God to the world. Now thirdly, let's fill in the era, the figure and the location. Through Moses, God blank the Hebrew people from blank in Egypt, and then gives them the blank. Now let's fill in the era, the figure and the location. Joshua leads the blank of the blank blank. Now let's do the era, the figure and the location. Samson and others were chosen as blank to blank the people for blank blank rebellious years. And lastly, let's do the era, the figure and the location to be completed in this chapter. Now let's do the storyline summary. David, the greatest king in the new monarchy, is followed by a succession of mostly unrighteous kings, and God eventually judges Israel for her sin, sending her into exile. The era is the kingdom, and the summary is David, the greatest king in the new blank, is followed by a succession of mostly blank kings, and God eventually blank Israel for her sin, sending her into exile. Now the expansion, there are four main people periods in the kingdom era, which are the United Kingdom, the divided kingdom, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Now the United Kingdom, a new monarchy, 1 and 2 Samuel. The 12 tribes of Israel, jealous of other nations around them, are united in their demand in God for a king. God allows Samuel, the last judge, to anoint Saul to be the first king, beginning a new monarchy, because Saul is not a righteous king. God does not honour his region or establish his family on the throne of Israel. His successor David, through having shortcomings as a righteous king, and Israel prosper under him. David's son Solomon becomes king upon David's death. Solomon rules righteously at first, then drifts from the Lord. Secondly, divided kingdom, a civil war, 1 Kings. As a result of Solomon's spiritual drifting, a civil war erupts upon his death and the kingdom is divided. There is now a northern kingdom consisting of 10 miles, and the southern kingdom consisting of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. The northern 10 tribes retain the name Israel, and the southern 2 tribes adopt the name Judah after the name of the larger tribe. Now secondly, northern kingdom, the unrighteous kingdom, 2 kings. In the civil war that split the kingdom, Jeroboam commands the northern kingdom of Israel. He is unrighteous, and every other king, 19 total, who succeed him during the 250-year life of the northern kingdom is also unrighteous. Because of the unrighteousness, God raises up Uzziah to conquer the northern kingdom and scatter his people to the 4 winds. The unrighteous kingdom is never restored. Fourthly, southern kingdom, the inconsistent kingdom, 2 kings. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, commands the southern kingdom of Judah. He is also unrighteous, but the southern kingdom fares somewhat better than the northern, lasting for 400 years, and life is prolonged by 8 righteous kings out of a total of 20. Judah's sins finally catch up to her, however, and God brings judgment on the inconsistent kingdom by raising up Babylonia, which had conquered Assyria to conquer Judah. Babylonia gathers all the leaders, artisans, musicians and promising children and makes them away to captivity in Babylonia. Now let's do a self-test. What you can learn tomorrow is built on what you learn today. So A is 4 major subjects in the kingdom era. We have the subject, the United Kingdom, write down the number for the description of the unrighteous kingdom. Secondly, the divided kingdom, write the number of a new monarchy. And thirdly, the northern kingdom, write the number of the inconsistent kingdom. And fourth, the southern kingdom is fill in the number of a civil war. Now the storyline summary is the era kingdom is David, the greatest king in the new fill in the blank, is followed by a succession of mostly blank kings, and God eventually blank Israel for her sin, sending her into exile. the arc of the Bible story, and we have the diagram. Okay, let's do the geography of the kingdom era. Draw an arrow from Israel to Assyria. Draw another arrow from Judah to Babylonia. This represents the geographical movement of the kingdom era. Now we have the story of the Old Testament. Let's do more era, figure, and location, self-test. So, storyline summary: Adam is created by God, but he blank and blank God's original blank for man. Secondly, fill in the era, the figure, and the location. Abraham is blank by God to father a blank to blank God in the world. Then thirdly, fill in your era, figure, and location. Through Moses, God blank the Hebrew people from blank in Egypt and then gives them the blank. Now fourthly, let's do the era, the figure, and the location. For Josiah leads the blank of the blank blank. Now let's do the era, the figure, and the location. Samson and others were chosen as blank in the blank, the people for blank blank rebellious years. And lastly, the era, the figure, and the location. David, the greatest king in the new blank, is followed by a succession of mostly blank kings, and God eventually blank Israel for her sin, sending her into exile. And that's all for today. Thank you.